This video is brought to you by the Ridge wallet. More on them later. Japan is a magical land that I'm not completely sure is real. I mean, they got square watermelons, toilets that spray water up your brown eye, Apple mascots that drum like a metal god, and all the video games they don't want to share with the world. Well, they share a lot with the world, and I think at least my life would be very different if they hid everything away, but just because they've given us Mario and Final Fantasy and whatever the hell God Hand was, doesn't mean that we shouldn't feel a little let down by what games have been kept from us. It's like the geographical version of obscure hidden gems that I can discuss in a desperate attempt to sound unique and interesting, but they're kinda just laid out in front of me today. I've had harder videos to make in the past, that's for sure. There's some serious fear of missing out going on in this video because I don't live in Japan and therefore I don't have too much access to Japanese-only video games, but hopefully maybe this video will act as some kind of call to action to help get some of these games released worldwide. Who knows, might even help a little bit. It kind of reminds me how I used to fear missing out on sleek, high-quality front pocket wallets before Ridge came into my life, but here we are right now, and you know, I don't really miss my very large, very old, very leather, kind of unnecessary wallets. Thankfully, these are released outside of Japan. Given how advanced we're making all of our things these days, it's a bit strange how little wallet-making technology has progressed over the years. We've got phones that can do crazy things, but wallets are still leather and heavy and too big for our pockets. Luckily, Ridge is here to help out with their sturdy wallets that can hold up to 12 cards with extra room for cash, and with more than 30 colours and styles to choose from, you're very likely to find something that suits your tastes. Plus, Ridge were kind enough to send me one of their waterproof commuter backpacks with a shock-resistant laptop holder and an external USB port for on-the-go charging. Honestly, once I start going on public transport again, I'm definitely using this as much as possible. Ridge comes with a lifetime warranty, so you can buy one wallet for the rest of your life if you like, with a 45-day return window for a free refund if you're not such a fan. Get 10% off today with free worldwide shipping and returns by going to ridge.com/RabbidLuigi and using the code RabbidLuigi. It's time to move your wallet into the future. Okay then, let's talk about the games that Japan doesn't want you to play. Japan loves horror. Forget video games for a second, the history of Japanese horror is lengthy and very scary, and primarily involves more supernatural threats like vengeful spirits and ghost stories, often coupled with more modern settings like in The Ring and the Ju-on films. You know, the Grudge. Basically, there's an intense appetite for this sort of stuff all throughout Japanese culture, and the rise of horror video games wouldn't have been all that possible without some very important Japanese game releases. Just look at Resident Evil and Silent Hill, and hell, even something like Castlevania with its more gothic stance on things. All of these had some kind of say in dictating the direction that survival horror would go with video games. Resident Evil especially is credited for shaping the genre into something like what we know today, but did you know that there's another, earlier game that is perhaps even more important? It's even made by Capcom, so the through line between Resident Evil and Sweet Home is even stronger than you'd think. Just in case you think I'm clutching at straws to prove a point. Sweet Home may have horror undertones, but by design it's an RPG, and a movie tie-in RPG at that, based on the 1989 Japanese horror film of the same name. Even then, the devs took some creative liberties, and the only vague similarity is that you're exploring a haunted mansion, which sounds really familiar considering what this helped to inspire. This is actually quite a complex game for 1989, with multiple playable characters who can suffer permadeath triggered by failing quick-time events, and the mansion you're exploring has a very intricate layout with branching pathways and some serious puzzles that need solving. And hey, I know why this game never made it over to Europe and America, considering that it's based on a Japanese-only movie and it'd make for a tricky sell to market it without proper context, but it's aged quite well for a horror game representing a fledgling genre, and lots of people are missing out on a key piece of history here. Resident Evil is massively important for loads of video games, and it's crazy that there's another game behind it that doesn't get anywhere near as much credit. I'm sure we just think it's a Candy Crush spin-off or something. If it wasn't for Smash Bros being so popular and so good for the exposure of relatively obscure characters, this list could have had any Fire Emblem game in it. That's a weird thing to think about because we live in an exciting world where Fire Emblem is doing pretty well for itself, in part because it came to the West and underwent a dramatic reboot to help breathe new life into what was a struggling franchise. Fire Emblem's always been good though, it's just often been a challenge to convince fans of more conventional RPGs that this franchise is worth your time. Obviously we're dealing with any games released before 2003, when Fire Emblem Reckono Ken was rebranded as simply Fire Emblem, and sold to simple Westerners who likely thought that this was the start of a new franchise, except pre-2003 doesn't even include Shadow Dragon and the Blade of Light, since they're sticking that on the Switch later this year with an official English localization after 30 years of being a Japanese game and nothing else. So there's hope for all of us, and especially Genealogy of the Holy War. We need some hope to hold on to these days. Those Japan-exclusive Fire Emblem games got shafted so hard, you have no idea. Gaiden deserved it, because it's a bit terrible, but Thrakia 776 came out on the Super Famicom just 2 years before the GameCube hit the shelves, and Genealogy of the Holy War is likely the best Fire Emblem game that the majority of fans haven't played. I like to think that some of the newer fans have caught up with a few of the lesser known titles in the franchise at this point, so maybe that's not completely true, but Genealogy of the Holy War is a seriously impressive game for the time it came out. Intelligent Systems chose this game as a good time to start working hard on the stories, that now spans 2 generations in-game, so you can pair off units in your army to spout children who then join the fight later on. It's a landmark game in the series really, since this is where the weapon triangle came in, and the Fire Emblem that we know and appreciate to this day started to take on a more tangible shape, and yet it's still confined to the shores on which it was given life. I suppose there's hope though, because if Fire Emblem Gaiden can get a remake and come to the West in English via a roundabout route, then frankly anything should and could do the same in the future. Need to catch the devs at a good time, I guess. I think it's very important for games developers to celebrate the older video games in their franchises, and especially the highly influential ones, and so Genealogy of the Holy War being stuck in Japan and without an official English release is really surprising to me, considering its importance as a Fire Emblem game. You take this game away and this franchise is just a bunch of bland, uninspiring RPGs, and you can't ship your units together. The absolute travesty of that. You'd think that most of these games are one-offs. The Japanese games market is healthy even at the worst of times, but generally there's a lot to be gained from branching out to new audiences and not putting your games under unnecessary restrictions. The idea that there's entire franchises of games that have never made their way over to the Western world in any official capacity is crazy to me. So many decades of games left untouched. So many experiences left to be forgotten by time, and hey, does anyone hear music? What happened to the Toho music? That's where I was going with this. Why is it getting louder? How do we turn it off? Oh yeah, you didn't think I was gonna miss talking about Super Robot Wars, did ya? I mean, Toho is fun and all, and I do feel bad that I couldn't find any space to squeeze it in, but make no mistake, Super Robot Wars absolutely deserves to be here by account of its impressive history, its outstanding qualities, and, the fact that it stayed in Japan its whole life. Not true though, since at least 2 games out of its 29-year history have swam the Pacific Ocean, but neither of those are as good as Super Robot Wars Z for the PS2 in 2008, at a time when everyone was way more interested in the PS3. Despite the tricky circumstances, Z is honestly the best that the series has got to give, with multiple story paths and some damn impressive graphics for the PS2. I've never seen robot fighting look so good, and that's before they changed this one's head into a reminder that if you're enjoying this video and want to see more, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell for notifications of every new upload. It's an odd game within an odd franchise because it's the culmination of everything that Super Robot Wars has built up over the years, and yet it's stuck over there in Japan with no official English release and released on the previous console 2 years after the sequel came out. That's a pretty obscure way of releasing your magnum opus. I haven't even tried to find footage on YouTube yet. That'll be fun. There's a quiet acceptance to this video that, in talking about the best games that Japan have kept for themselves, there's a chance we might find something kind of obscure that has virtually no chance of getting a re-release or official English localization. And that's a damn shame, because Super Robot Wars Z is effectively the quintessential experience for that franchise. You can play that and understand everything you want to know about this franchise. And yet it doesn't even have its own Wikipedia page yet. It's rare that one of the best games in a series is the one that's left behind in Japan, because generally a games developer will see that a game is doing well in their native land and think, hey, it'd be quite beneficial if we were to release this game to a wider demographic and to more people outside of our country, because we'll make more money and we'll make our fans happy. And that's both something that we probably want to be doing. But when have games developers ever made the smart play? We've already talked about Capcom, but why stop there? If they can't bring over one of the pioneers of the horror genre, then it's perfectly understandable that they'd leave one of the best Ace Attorney games in a desk drawer and decide not to do anything about selling it to other countries. Never mind that Ace Attorney is quite popular in the West and has built up a handy little demographic for itself that has helped to support a unique franchise of legal battles and cross-examining a parrot for clues. Clearly a game that sheds some much needed light on one of the best characters in these games is something that Capcom should keep to themselves. Hey no, it's fine, we've still got Call of Duty, I'll just go play that and leak my brains out of my nose. Ace Attorney Investigations 2 stings on numerous different levels. Clearly it's a sequel, which on its own should probably be enough to smuggle it onto a boat out of Japan, but Capcom's reasoning comes from the fact that the original didn't sell very well in the West, and they have no reason to make the same mistake twice. And I get that, I really do, because business often has to come first, and if they can't justify the finances behind a decision, then fair enough, but I need it. That first game was really good, and by the sounds of it, Ace Attorney Investigations 2 is more of the same, if not better, so while I can understand its exclusivity, I can still be a bit salty over how someone else has decided that I don't need to play the sequel. Well, there's other Ace Attorney games I can play instead, so I guess I'm not missing out on too much. It's what Edgeworth would want me to do. Well, I think we all know where this is leading. I mean, I did try to find another line of thinking that would make the end of this video more unpredictable, but this topic has only ever had one game as part of the dream that maybe one day Nintendo will listen to reason and finally do something about Mother 3. It's been 14 years now, and we've had 3 Smash Bros games in that time, all with Lucas in them as a representative of Mother 3, and yet they're still completely distant from the prospect of re-releasing this game in any way. So it's just the one-time deal on the Game Boy Advance? Oh yeah, no, that's fine. I don't really think anyone cares that much, so yeah, don't worry about it. So we don't actually need to discuss how much Nintendo fans want Mother 3 officially localized, because that's not what we're here to do. But a key reason why people are so keen is because how much was changed and improved from Earthbound. Hard to say which game's better because they feel very different and set up to do very different things, but Mother 3 has a tighter focus to it that wrenches your heart out of your chest and stamps on it with cleats. It never wastes an opportunity to kill off beloved characters and place other characters in perilous circumstances that would make you wish for death. And when it comes to it, Mother 3 is the sort of game that I'd recommend to everyone because of the kind of responses and reactions it elicits from those who play it. By that reasoning, it boils my piss that we've had to rely on fan translations all these years and have never been able to experience the game in any official capacity. The line from Nintendo is that they were concerned how Western audiences would react considering how dark Mother 3 is, and stuff like drug use and animal cruelty might generate unwanted controversy, but did no one play Earthbound? With its death cults and the drug trips and everything surrounding the final boss with the weird imagery and the fetus in the background? Did I play a different game to everybody else? Because that was a fucking weird game. Mother 3 is definitely a sadder game, but does it honestly cross the line in too many places? You missed the boat for an E for Everyone rating, that's for damn sure. ESRB are onto your shit now. This is RabbidLuigi, and I've often wondered what the world would be like if Mother 3 was eventually released to the rest of the world, and honestly I don't think life would change that much, but we would see Nintendo attempt to market Mother 3 to the rest of the world, having failed spectacularly with Earthbound. I don't know if they have to take any special precautions, but in general, just steer clear of saying that your game stinks, because, you know, we don't really go in for that anymore. A quick thank you to my top supporters on Patreon. We have La Cookie Queen, Ramon Alberto, Stefan Wode, Jerome Curiou, I think, Fusion Warrior, Sarah Malion, Christopher Robinson, Joe Creamer, M Phoenix, and Scott Riker. Thank you all for your incredible support, and if you want to be a part of that, you can go to patreon.com/RabbidLuigi, where I post things and read out your username at the end of the video, so that's fun. And also, what topic would you like to see me cover next? Leave your suggestion in a comment on this video, because I'll be taking the best ideas and making a poll on my community tab, which you can then vote on to decide what the next video is about. I'll be announcing the winner of the poll over on my Twitter, so make sure you follow me so you don't miss out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.